The Xbox Series S and X consoles arrived in late 2020, mass anticipation and a dream of next-level performance in a new generation. Microsoft promised that we would feel the difference of this new console, set with super fast response and tactile immersive experiences not possible on older hardware. The Xbox Series X is impressive on paper, but in practice over the first year of the new console, it has been underwhelming in performance, promises, and comparisons to the much larger PS5. Microsoft's Advanced Technology Group has been working all year to get the potential realized on the new consoles. And with this latest update, we will finally see how the Xbox Series S and X can outperform the competition by giving us a truly next-generation experience on the Xbox platform. This is Colteastwood. Welcome back to the channel. Today, the Advanced Technology Group from Microsoft spoke up about new RDNA 2 features that are totally going to change how Xbox Series S and X games look in the future. If you end up enjoying this video, let me know by liking and subscribing to the channel. Hit the bell to be notified of new content. Let's talk about this new upgrade to Xbox Series S and Series X. The Xbox Project Scarlet is a hardware set that developers are using to ready for a true next-generation experience across Xbox and PC. The hardware and software feature sets that are combined with a brand new game engine peel away the magic that make our favorite brand new games look and feel incredible. Xbox waited nearly a year behind the PS5 to implement the most forward and future-thinking architecture paired with cutting-edge console and even PC components to give developers a platform to create next-level gaming performance. Unfortunately for console fans watching the multi-platform comparisons, much of the very first year of the Xbox Series S and X consoles, the more powerful and more advanced Xbox was being outperformed by the PS5. Put plainly, the games we've played for over the first year of the PS5 and Xbox Series consoles are really just last-generation designs with improved resolution, frame rates, and new ray tracing in half-hearted integration, and to be brutally honest, games like Cyberpunk 2077 and Watch Dogs Legion resort to 30 FPS ray tracing modes. And this, thankfully, is a thing of the past and a symptom of cross-generation porting on console. The Microsoft Advanced Technology Group, the experts behind the new hardware features, the development kits, and the engines that will power the next generation on Xbox Series S and X, are just beginning to take form as new games are being built outside of consideration for last gen's Xbox One and PS4. Today, the ATG team presented to game developers that VRS is the solution to gain 10 to 15% performance advantage in their graphics budget as they build games on the RDNA 2 supported PC and Xbox Series consoles. VRS is a first on console only available on the Xbox Series S and X. VRS in 2 tiers can give rendering pipelines anywhere from 15 to 33% extra headroom for other graphical presentation in games, depending on how it is utilized. But what does this translate into games as players and consumers? Right now, games are struggling to run at 1080p or 1440p 60 on major open-world AAA games like Dying Light 2 or Far Cry 6. And the Xbox Series consoles are capable of much more. VRS, or variable rate shading, is an efficiency RDNA 2 feature in software implemented into the game engine pipeline to lower rendering costs, where it will be least noticeable while leaving front and center visuals the most quality, freeing up tasks and time for other effects that can sweeten up the way the game looks overall. Increases in quality and resolution where it matters. Objects that are behind glass, blocked by terrain, or underwater can be set for VRS performance efficiency, freeing up the GPU and rendering pipeline to render clearly visible objects at their highest quality. This allows more next-generation games to use native pixel rasterization and go beyond the presentation quality we have seen in some of the most advanced games of last generation or current generation on console, giving freedom for developers to add the most advanced and impressive visual eye candy to their games, like motion blur, depth of field, bloom, volumetric light and fog, God rays, shadow quality, subsurface scattering on skin and textures on ground, while all retaining 60 FPS and sharp resolution, frame by frame, increasing the overall quality of the game's presentation. Largest performance gains with VRS occur during the most performance taxing alpha and post-processing effects. VRS is highly beneficial for ray tracing performance as it can share passes of rendering textures, which can be even more performance saving when using BC Pack, which is another exclusive software feature from RDNA 2 for the Xbox Series S and X consoles. VRS is being properly utilized in Unreal Engine 5, which until now all games except for the updated Gears 5 version on Xbox Series S and X have been Unreal Engine 4 or older last generation era game engines. These older game engines, and more importantly older builds of games in a pre-RDNA 2 development era, are not using VRS or other efficiency RDNA 2 features, which puts the first year of the new consoles strictly outside of what we would consider next generation. Unreal Engine 5's Nanite sees a 33% in graphical boost for complex geometry in objects, environments, and even character models. In the example of Gears 5 in Unreal Engine 5, the game is built using traditional geometry that is common among Generation 8 consoles, like the Xbox One and PS4. So, Tier 2 VRS passes along traditional geometry, only yielding a 3 to 5% performance gain. This is because Gears 5 is not using Unreal Engine 5 feature sets like Nanite geometry, since it was built years before Unreal 5 was available to the Coalition or other developers. If Gears 5 scenes had been built with Nanite geometry, the VRS solution would allow the hardware to benefit from 15 to 33% performance efficiency, allowing the Coalition to put that extra overhead into better resolution, in dynamic scaling, or better post-processing effects like shadows, lighting, and reflections. VRS breaks the image into 4 scenarios for dynamic resolution scaling based on the most important and visually centered objects in a scene contextually. Simply put, the resolution and render quality of background objects can be downscaled as much as by half the resolution while retaining full quality on closer focus objects like characters. Medium focal objects like static background or foreground objects can see a 1/4 resolution downsample. All of this is happening with VRS RDNA 2 features in the game development pipeline for rendering scenes on a frame-by-frame basis. 60 to 120 frames per second. VRS is making efficiency decisions based on parameters set by the developers to free up rendering performance to allow things like ray tracing to be showcased in a game without slamming everything down to 30 FPS, like we have seen on almost every Gen 9 aware cross-generation built game since the launch of the Series S and X and PS5. Keep in mind that nearly all games we've seen since the launch of the new consoles have been built in an era without access to RDNA 2 and full next-generation consideration. This is expected to be the first year of these new consoles as games are being completed. Simply turning on VRS in fully next-generation games in the rendering pipeline frees up additional opportunities for developers to get the graphics engine working on other instructions like ray tracing and more immersive lighting and physics, freeing up the workload 2.6 milliseconds for each and every frame, which is a performance headroom of around 15%, and can mean the difference of having your cake and eating it too. Or no more 30 FPS ray tracing quality mode when there's enough frame time performance to show quality mode at 60 FPS. The way the hardware was intended. In fact, game developers are discovering that they can get even more performance gains on Xbox Series S and X when using VRS than on some PC hardware, according to Microsoft's Advanced Technology Group. VRS is just one arm of the RDNA 2 feature set for newly designed games on Series S and X. The RDNA 2 sets are critical to allowing developers to retain their vision of quality and future-ready, full-body game design without restrictions, low image quality, or performance compromises. DirectML, the AMD Super Resolution, an AI-powered image sharpening feature will render the lower pixel counts obsolete, as games will always look better than they should, and mesh shaders, exclusive to RDNA 2, will boost efficiency another 10 to 15%, and each of these combined will allow Xbox games to look better than they have ever rendered with realistic shadows, lighting, and reflections under taxing ray tracing compute, and enough headroom to realize the next generation AI-driven game design that will fully immerse us in a true next-generation game experience. The generation for Xbox Series S and X is just beginning, and as games release that have been long in development during the Xbox One generation, and with access to now a mature game development kit, resources from the team at Xbox, the release of games coming in 2022 and beyond will impress, delight, and come alive with more powerful hardware that is punching well above its weight. This is Colteastwood. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I know this one was super techy. This comes from an hour-long Advanced Technology Group Microsoft Game Stack presentation that showed different developers from id, the Coalition, and other developers that are working with the game development kit for Xbox. But the big takeaway here is that the games we played over the year have been totally cross-generation and not available with these new efficiency features. This has been a big deal when comparing multi-plat games on the PS5 versus Xbox, and I have given a ton of videos on this channel where I've given explanations of what has been going on with the future of the hardware and how it hasn't panned out. But we are almost out of this cross-generation situation, and I can't wait until we see what developers can do with more software, more hardware, and more features at their disposal. If you ended up enjoying this video, let me know by liking and subscribing to the channel. Hit the bell to be notified of new content, and if you'd like to further support the channel, you can do that by joining the channel membership below. Those give you early access to videos and monthly giveaways for merch on the channel. Also, if you want to hear more, there's the XSC podcast, which will be resuming next week. As I've been pretty sick over the past week, I caught COVID. I didn't think I was gonna... 2 years! I went 2 years without getting sick. Actually, I went like 3 years, but yeah, a little break in the channel, but thank you so much for sticking with me. But I want to hear your opinion about these things and these new improvements coming to the Xbox and when you think we'll see them implemented. Keep in mind some of the next generation games are coming at the end of this year and the start of next year. So we'll watch out for those. There will be people in the comment section who have been laughing about Xbox being behind the PS5 performance, and those things have changing already now, and they will change for the rest of the generation. So while you're there, try and get along with people, try not to get into big arguments, and please, be nice.